So just yesterday, I was talking to an older guy in my gym who's trying to lose his gut once and for all. But when he told me his workout split, it was a complete disaster. So in today's video, I want to walk through some of the key mistakes I see so many people make when starting a fat loss phase. What's up, guys? Josiah Novak with thetruetransformation.com. And if you're not sure who I am, well, I run a company called The True Transformation, and we help men 40 to 60 completely transform how they approach health and fitness, both from a physical and a mental standpoint. So it's not too late in the game. That's our motto, right? For guys who have been successful in plenty parts of their life, but the one thing that they're missing is their health and fitness. So speaking of health and fitness, I want to jump into some key mistakes I see so many guys make when it comes to dropping body fat. One of the first key mistakes is starting way too high with calories. Yes, starting way too high with calories. I know the name of the game around the internet. If you do any kind of research when it comes to setting up your nutrition plan, most rock solid fitness coaches are going to warn you to not get too aggressive with your calorie deficit. And for the most part, I completely agree. But we've taken this concept and we've made it to the point where guys aren't starting in a big enough calorie deficit, right? And they're wondering, like, how am I not losing weight? How am I not losing fat? I'm eating supposedly the right amount of food, but they're getting frustrated because they're not seeing the scale drop. My suggestion is you want to work with your mental state, especially when you start, and pair it up with a slightly more aggressive take on the beginning phase of a fat loss phase. What this looks like is, if you're burning 3,000 calories a day, most fitness coaches out there will tell you start around 2,500 calories a day when it comes to fat loss. It's a moderate deficit, and over the course of a week, you'll lose about a pound of fat if you're consistent. My suggestion, though, is take advantage of your excitement, your adrenaline, right? Your dopamine, because you just started and you're like, dude, I'm gonna go crush this. Don't make the mistake of going too crazy with your deficit. You don't need to be in, super low calorie mode where it's really hard to maintain, but you might want to aim for somewhere closer to like 2,200 calories a day, put you in like an 800 calorie per day deficit. This is going to help things move a little faster in the beginning. And what this will do is it'll get you more motivated, right? When you see the results right out of the gate, you're likely to keep going. This is what we do with our clients, right? We have an initial phase where we get the ball rolling. I just had a client the other day message me. He's a week into the program and he's down 4.5 pounds. Now, this guy runs a massive company. He's got a ton going on. He even went to a wedding over the weekend where he had 4 Michelob Ultras, but he lost 4.5 pounds. Why? Because I set his calories up so that he's in a bigger deficit out of the gate. Now, the key factor here is understanding that this won't last forever. We don't need to be in a massive deficit the entire time. We will probably rotate between phases of more aggressive calories and slightly less aggressive calories, more moderation. And we won't be afraid to take diet breaks. But the first mistake I see guys make is just not coming out of the gate hot enough. So they get the ball rolling, they get motivated, they see results, the scale starts to come down, and they start to noticeably look and feel a whole heck of a lot leaner right away. So use your emotional state to your advantage and start a little bit faster. The second mistake I see guys make is changing too many variables at once. When it comes to fat loss, you really want to treat it like a science experiment. The key pillars of fitness, period, are movement, muscle, and meals. This is exactly why I've built our program, which you can learn more about. If you're serious about transforming your physique, making a permanent change to your health and how you look, there's information below this video that you can check out right now. But I set up the True Transformation program to be simple, but also highly effective, and also make it easy for us to adjust as we go along. Because if you've got 15 different variables that you're tracking and you're trying to stay on top of, it can quickly become overwhelming and ultimately really slow down the process when it comes to fat loss. Movement, muscle, and meals are the 3 pillars to staying in shape year-round. But when it comes to losing body fat, you shouldn't be changing all 3 of them at once. You should set each one with a target. Have a goal that you're trying to hit under each pillar, but then as things slow down or things speed up or you're not seeing the changes that you want, don't think you have to go in and overhaul the entire system. Because here's the thing, if you do start to see results again, you're not going to be sure which variable actually kept the ball rolling. What moved the needle. So we want to treat it like a science experiment and try to only change one thing at a time. So for example, if you're not losing weight fast enough, or you're not losing body fat fast enough, and you're being consistent, because I just have to say it. If you're not being consistent with tracking everything and doing the right things, then that's the first place to start, is just get consistent or build a plan that you can be consistent with. But if you're being consistent and you're not seeing results, I wouldn't go in and try to work out an extra day or two a week. I wouldn't go drop my calories at the same time down to an extra 300 calories below whatever you were eating before. And then on top of that, increasing your steps by 20%, because yeah, you're probably going to see results, but you're not going to know where it came from. So I would probably start with something like just a calorie adjustment. Or if you don't want to adjust calories, then I would increase my steps. And if you don't want to do either of those things, then maybe I would look at variables like sleep. Could you get better sleep? Could you drink more water? Could you work out a little bit more just to burn a little extra calories? Even though working out is primarily for building muscle and holding on to muscle, this is how we want to approach it. Then give it yourself some time. If you don't see changes, then change another variable. But don't make the mistake of going in and chasing shiny objects, changing 13 different things, and then wondering why you get so overwhelmed when it comes to fat loss. Most guys, when trying to lose body fat, start their training with increasing reps and dropping the weight. And they start to shorten the rest times. They go in the gym and say, yeah, I'm really gonna push myself. I'm not gonna rest a lot between sets. I'm gonna move from one thing to the next. And really what they're doing is they're switching from highly effective strength and muscle building to circuit training, which I'm not saying is bad. Circuit training has its time and place. I mean, it's a fun way to add variations to your workout and to just enjoy the process of training. It can feel challenging, it can feel fun, but you're starting to do the opposite of what we want to do in a fat loss phase when it comes to the muscle side of the equation. We don't want to necessarily go in and start doing tons of high reps. We don't want to drop the weight that we've worked so hard to get stronger at using. We want to go in and actually treat our training with even more care around holding on to muscle and building as much muscle as possible. I love a lot of different training splits, but one of the most common ones that I prescribe to the guys in my coaching program is push-pull legs. This covers the entire body over 3 days. It gives you enough variation. It also allows us to swap exercises in and out when we get sick and tired of doing them or they become less effective. But the one thing we don't want to do is go in and start circuit training right out of the gate. This will immediately stop sending the muscle building and retention signal. So when we're in a calorie deficit and our body's in a state of catabolic focus, meaning it's trying to torch tissue, in this case body fat, for fuel, we don't want to give it the opportunity to burn muscle for fuel. We want to hold on to the muscle as much as possible, and hopefully, especially if you've been out of the game for a while, build some new muscle as you lose body fat. We want to go in and, if anything, keep our training the same as we had when we were building muscle. You can always change a few variables. You can maybe even do less volume because you're not eating as much. You could maybe lower reps. So if you were going for like 8 to 12 reps, when you start a fat loss phase, one of the things I like to do is drop my reps from down to 4 to 8, right? This just mentally puts me in the right state where it's like, hey, just because I'm in a deficit doesn't mean I'm not going in the gym to build muscle, right? This keeps me focused instead of going in and going, all right, time to drop the weight, do a bunch of circuits, sweat my balls off, and hopefully burn the fat. That's what most guys do. And just like the guy in the beginning of the video, this is what he was doing, right? Where he was like, yeah, I just set up 4 or 5 exercises in a row, and I just blast through them, and man, the sweat's crazy, and I'm just burning reps, trying to get the muscle to burn. I'm like, it sounds cool, and it probably feels good, but down the road, you're gonna look back and go, man, I just turned myself into a skinny, fat version of me, right? Versus a ripped, chiseled, jacked version of me who's strong, feels good, has good posture. So just don't make that mistake of dropping weight, doing tons of reps. I see it all the time. It's a big one. So one of the key parts of losing fat, obviously, is the nutrition side. This is why, inside of our program, which we call the True Transformation System, which you can learn about if you're dead serious about making a permanent change. Like if this is the time and you're like, hey, enough of the shenanigans. I've done so much in my life, but the one part of my life that I haven't mastered is health and fitness. And I don't want to go through the rest of my life feeling lack of confidence, lack of energy, and worried about my health. I want to look, feel, and perform at my absolute best. If you're serious about it, you can check out the information below the video. And there's a lot of things you can do to start today. But one of the key things we're really passionate about inside of our program is the nutrition side. We call it meals, but I know based off my 20 plus years of training and working out and PT experience that meals is really the make or break factor. It's one of those things that you can train as much as you want, you can move as much as you want, but it's so easily burned if you don't eat the right amount of food, right? You can wipe out a hard day's work by going and crushing a huge thing of ice cream really, really quickly. So we need to build the nutrition plan the right way. One of the things I see so many guys struggling with is snacking at night, right? So during the day, they're on point, solid breakfast, solid lunch, midday, afternoon, they're crushing like a protein shake. They get home, they have a really high protein dinner. Everything's good, right? Then that 8 p.m., 9 p.m. hour rolls around, they go in the pantry, and next thing you know, they're stuffing Oreos, grabbing trail mix, eating chips, and they're like, man, I just blew through 800 calories in like 3 bites. So we want to avoid that. And now we don't necessarily need to avoid snacking entirely. And this is the next mistake I want to point out, and that is make sure you build what you prefer into your plan for nutrition, right? So if it's snacking at night, make sure your meal plan allows for snacking at night. Stop trying to be this Spartan warrior who all of a sudden is like Men's Health cover model overnight. Like even those guys won't tell you, but they have a plan that's built for their unique preferences. I call your non-negotiables. It could be something like, hey, when I go to the movies with my wife, I always eat popcorn. And I'm probably not going to change that, even if it means getting ripped abs. Yeah, I might change it here and there, but ultimately I'm going to come back to it because it just provides too much life enjoyment for me to give up. The good news is you don't have to give it up. You think you do, but you don't. So what we want to do is we want to look at what we normally snack on, find out if there's something similar that we could build into our plan at night that allows us to hit the calories that we're trying to hit. If we can do that, then we're winning on all fronts. If we go into our day going, man, I have to like reinvent the wheel. I can't enjoy the foods that I like. I can't snack when I want to snack. That's going to be a recipe for disaster. So me personally, I always save room for a dessert. And I put it in quotations because dessert doesn't mean that I go have, a chocolate sundae or I order, this massive thing from Cold Stone or whatever. Yeah, there's times where I do that for sure. But most of my desserts are under a few hundred calories. Typically I'll have like a couple rice cakes. I'll put a little low calorie whipped cream on top, maybe sprinkle some cinnamon, have a few blueberries sprinkled in. Next thing you know, it's like 300 calories for like a really delicious, crunchy and sweet snack that I can have at night, guilt-free. And I'm hitting my calories and I'm hitting my protein and I'm doing all the things to crush my fat loss goals. But I made this mistake for so long of thinking, you gotta eat perfectly clean. You gotta stick to the chicken, rice, and broccoli. You gotta do the simple 6 meal a day meal plan where you're eating every 2 hours and speeding up your metabolism. That's total nonsense, right? Build a meal plan that is suited for your specific needs. And I promise you, fat loss and just fitness in general will become so easy so quickly. So the last point, and this is a big one, so don't leave the video if you got down to point number 5. By the way, if you liked the video, make sure you hit the thumbs up button. Let me know. Drop a comment so far. What are some of the key mistakes you've made when it comes to losing fat? Or what are some of the things you feel like you're doing that are leading to less success with fat loss? Let me know in the comments and I'm happy to address them directly or make a video on them in the future. So one of the major segues that I help guys make when it comes to fat loss is learning how to go from tracking to eyeballing. Because at the end of the day, I know, especially the guys I work with, guys in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, who have really successful careers, they have a busy family life, they travel, they like to go do social activities. They don't have a ton of extra time. Even if they do, they like to use that extra time for other things outside of fitness. But they want to look good. They want to look like they work out. They want to have less of a gut. So I want to help them make this segue into eyeballing things. Okay, so what this basically means is, initially when they come in our program, we spend a short amount of time tracking our food, tracking our steps, tracking our lifts. So we just gather data and we go, okay, what does the data tell us? How much are we typically eating? And then help us understand, what do certain amounts of food look like? What does it feel like to hit 10,000 steps a day? What does it feel like to train and get stronger? I want to start getting used to this feeling so I can start to understand what I'm supposed to feel like. Like these days, I can lose body fat without tracking a thing because I know what it feels like to hit a certain amount of steps. I know how much I need to move. I know how I'm supposed to feel at the end of the day in a calorie deficit. I know I'm supposed to wake up the next day knowing I ate less than I burned the day before. I've gotten used to these feelings. I could also look at a piece of steak or a piece of salmon or a bowl of pasta, and I can get pretty darn close to accurate when it comes to knowing exactly how many calories, how much protein, carbs, and fats are in certain foods without having to look them up on an app or scan a barcode or anything like that. Not to say you can't do that for the rest of your life. Some of my clients absolutely do track their food on a regular basis forever. But I want to teach you how to eyeball things so that you start to feel like this is super sustainable. You go, I know how much calories are in that beer. I know how, what I need to order at restaurants because I don't have to look at the menu. I know the calories. I know what I'm supposed to eat. That's when it becomes a lifestyle. And that's really the biggest mistake I see people make. They don't make fitness a permanent way of living. They treat it as a temporary fad, a temporary challenge. It's why I'm so anti all these, 75-day, 90-day challenges or whatever that put you through the ringer. Yeah, you're gonna lose weight. Yeah, you're gonna probably get ripped. You're probably gonna do all those things, but then I'm gonna talk to you a year later and you're gonna be back at square one because you didn't make it permanent. It didn't just become the way you are. You didn't change your identity. Your identity is still wrapped up in the person who wants to do things the comfortable way, wants to do things the way that just is easy, the way that you can go about your day to day and not stress too much. And the beauty of this whole thing is you can absolutely have that with health and fitness, but you gotta have that segue. So you gotta learn how to do it the not so convenient way, which is still not that inconvenient. It doesn't take that much time, but you learn that and then you transition to the lifestyle friendly way so you can keep the results forever. And that's why we're so passionate here at The True Transformation about helping you make a permanent transformation. So listen, if you're watching this and you're like, yep, that's what I need. I need to change who I am from an identity perspective. I need to become the healthy, fit, lean, ripped, muscular version of myself who can go out and do athletic events. I can go do things that challenge myself physically and mentally. And right now, that's the one thing I'm missing. And I don't have it and I want to get it. Well, if you're serious, the information to check out our program is below. Go check it out today. Schedule a consultation, get on my calendar, get on my team's calendar, and let's make it happen because life moves fast. It's time to make it count. I'll talk to you on the next video. Peace.